Greetings gamers everywhere, I'm Swippy92 and I'm here to show you the ins and outs of every objective in Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hell. Now, Hordes of Hell, for those who doesn't know, is a roguelike game available on Steam, and it's a kind of a Viking-esque kind of rogue-like, and it has some great art style, it has some great gameplay, and I love the game. Now, the way you approach this game is that you go into a map and you complete a bunch of objectives. Only by completing every objective on a map you will get to fight the boss of that map, and that is the only way to officially complete the map. Now, if you don't summon the Jotun, the boss, you will still win, sort of, and get the resources that you collected. But killing the Jotun is the main goal of every map. Now, these objectives can vary from map to map and difficulty to difficulty, actually. So I will be going through all of the different things you'll encounter, and I'll try to explain if any variables does affect the objective in any way. Now, to start off with, I just want to say that a lot of the objectives will be shown on the first map of Niflheim, because that is where I got much of the money. Many of the objectives that you see, basically, in the first map of Niflheim will come back later in the game on other maps. Now, all maps are different in many other ways other than the objectives, so I do not think that the repetition of the objectives does not impact the gameplay in such a way that it makes me go, oh, not this again. But let's get to it. We're gonna start off with some of the most basic objectives that you'll find in the game, and that is basically a collectathon kind of objective. Now, this one is pretty boring, I guess you could call it, but it does take a while to do as well, because you basically have to run around the whole map collecting things. Now, it doesn't take a long to pick up. You can just basically run over them and they are almost instantly picked up. The same goes for every other objective in the game that is like this. Now, there aren't too many different ones in this one, or rather in this category, so yeah. It's basically mushrooms, tankards, souls, and while doing this on Helheim, the last map, the souls you're gonna collect, there are 12 I think, but they don't all spawn at once, as opposed to the other objectives like mushrooms and tankards. They all spawn at the same time all over the maps, but souls do not. Keep that in mind. When you collected one, there will be another one popping up somewhere else. Another objective you'll find pretty constantly throughout the maps are Braziers. You basically just run up to them and light them up. Depending on the difficulty, you will find there's a different amount of Braziers you have to light up, but it's basically just the same. Just run up to the circle and light them up. It's done. Been there, done that. This next objective is one objective you might not want to do right away as you start out as a completely new player, because this is runners, and when you have low damage and you're just starting on the map, this is not something you want. I believe Muspelheim is the only map that gives you this objective as an option as your first objective. So keep that in mind, that runners is not ideal for when you're starting just out, because this one will make it so that runners, some fast and non-attacking enemies, will spawn right next to you and they'll spread out in all different directions. Now, depending on the difficulty, there will be a different amount of them, but yeah, other maps do give you this kind of objective later on, which is a lot better, because you can potentially one-shot them as they spawn around you, if you have enough damage, that is. Or you have some kind of ability that lets you freeze them or pull them in. They're not too tanky, but they're fast. You will have to run up to them and they will start moving away from you as you get closer and damage them. So yeah, don't do this as your first objective, unless you think you have the damage for it. I mean, you're free to try, and you will kill them, even if it's your first objective, but it's gonna take you a while. Another objective I wouldn't recommend as your first objective, as this one can also be encountered quite early on some maps, is portals. Portals is quite easy. You just go into the circle, you activate the portal, and enemies will spawn out of the portal attacking you. Now these are mostly slow enemies, so there's no danger there. Depending on the difficulty, I believe you will have a different amount of enemies you have to kill. And of course the strength of the enemies will differ, of course, but the main thing is that they will have a different amount of enemies spawning out. I do believe that's the case, but what's most important is that you do not leave that circle that's created after activating the objective, because if you step out of the circle you will have to start over from the beginning. This kind of circle will come back in other objectives as well. So this one requires a bit of damage, and as you have to restrict yourself to a small circle, you can easily get overwhelmed. Now, something I forgot to mention earlier on is that some objectives come in easy and hard or medium difficulty, and this is one such objective. This is to kill the blah 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 enemies. Mostly this is just a straight up kill the elite enemies kind of thing, and they will differ a little bit from map to map. And what I think Niflheim does this one the most unique actually, because on insane difficulty you actually have to break the ice around the graves of jarls and chieftains before you can actually summon them. Chieftains are the weaker version of jarls, and jarls also have a second attack that chieftains don't have, but the basic gist is summon the enemy, kill them, move on with your life. Now, the difference between insane and hard is not that great, except for that on insane you're most likely required to do the hard version of something. That's the main difference between playing on normal, hard or insane. That insane will most often just make you do the hard version of a objective. Not always, but mostly. And of course insane will also have perhaps 3 graves of a jarl instead of 1 or 2. So there's that. The sacrificial pylon objective is pretty straightforward, both in name and what you're supposed to do. Just activate the pylon and then you get a inner circle and an outer circle. Now what your objective is to kill enemies inside the circle. Now depending on difficulty you might need to kill a different amount of enemies, but kill them within the circle. Do stay within the inner circle, or otherwise you will have to start all over from the beginning. Take care when doing this kind of objective, because if you don't have the damage, well, you're not gonna cut it. Sorry. The Nithtstang objective is pretty unique and quite problematic with many characters actually. Now this one is very unique in the way that it creates a bubble around a pylon called a Nithtstang, and your goal is to destroy that pylon. But inside that bubble are all your active abilities from gods and your class are muted. They aren't used in any way. Now your passives from gods and such are still active, so health regeneration and all of that, or extra damage, they're all active. Now the problem is with Nithtstangs that I do believe that they require a fixed amount of hits to actually be destroyed. So yeah, the faster you hit, the better, which is quite detrimental to maybe if you're playing the Seers, because she doesn't have a fast attack, and maybe not even the Berserker. Now he does swing twice with his weapons, but if he doesn't have the attack speed for it, it's gonna take a few hits. The best character for this, I believe, would be the Revenant, because he fires 3 shots with each of his bow attacks, and that seems to do the work much faster. And yeah, so he's perfect at this, and of course every character can do it. It's just gonna be a lot tougher. Now, as soon as you go outside of a bubble, if you're having trouble surviving because of a wave of enemies, just step out of the bubble, kill all the enemies, and go inside the bubble again. And if you're doing multiple Nithtstangs, most likely you are, at least 2, I would say. Now, going from one Nithtstang to another one before destroying the first one is also a tactic. Like, you're basically kiting the enemies while destroying those Nithtstangs. Another fun one that they added suddenly after an update was Rune puzzle. Now, this one is not too difficult. It's just a series of links you have to connect, basically. There are runes on the ground. You step on one, you activate the rune, and then you activate the next in the sequence, and the next and the next. Now, of course, which one is the next one in the sequence, because if you do it in the wrong order, they're not going to activate and you're going to have to start over from the beginning. Now, the amount of runes in one puzzle is always the same. It's 4 of them, but the amount of puzzles altogether could differ depending on which one you do. There's a medium and a hard one, and this just increases the amount of puzzles you have to do, not the amount of connections you have to make within one of the puzzles. But you can basically start with any of the runes, and then you will see a line on the ground from the rune that you activated to the next one. You will move over to that one, activate that one will create a line to the third one, and that one will create a line to the fourth one, and then you're done. If you happen to activate another rune on the way, or you might have misread something, yeah, you're gonna have to start over. They're quite quick to activate, so yeah, it's easy to make that mistake. Mainly because of enemies, because if you can't shall we say, effectively clear enemies around you, it's gonna be difficult to do this, because the enemies can easily overwhelm you, because you do need to stand still for about 1 or 2 seconds to activate the puzzles or activate the runes. Speaking of unique objectives, Helheim has an additional puzzle for you, the mirror puzzle. This puzzle only appears on hard difficulty or insane difficulty of the Helheim map. And what you need to do is align a few mirrors in the right way to hit the crystal in the middle. There's basically a type of laser shooting out from the wall on one side, and you need to turn the mirrors so that the laser bounces off the mirrors and hits the crystal in the middle. And once it hits the crystal in the middle, you move into the middle where the crystal is, and then you're done. This is pretty straightforward, but it can be a bit tricky, especially on insane, because there are many mirrors to do. Recording for this video, I did it completely in the wrong order, and I managed to almost screw myself because of that. As it takes a lot more time to do this puzzle, you might not have enough time to survive the gauntlet and then to get to the boss, because you need to survive the gauntlet and all of that in the allotted time before you kill the boss. Remember that you only have a fixed amount of time before you need to activate the boss. So basically you need to do the puzzle not quickly, but fast enough, let's say. But I also did this on a second run, and I did the puzzle almost flawlessly. I activated everything in the right order, and it just went in a circle, and I was done. Went very quickly, and I was very happy with that. Survival challenges. Now, these objectives are quite simple. You activate the curse, or whatever it is, and then you survive for the time that you need to survive. This kind of curse/survival challenge will differ from map to map, but also difficulty to difficulty. The higher the difficulty, the more things will be active during the curse time or survival time. Now, this one can be very hard on insane, especially considering that there are also enemies spawning, elites might spawn, and whatever else you have activated. Now, Helheim has a very specific kind of survival. The survival on Helheim map only shows up on insane difficulty, which makes this one quite unique. And it always says easy. I don't want to know what hard version of this would be, but the Helheim version of survival, the gauntlet they call it, is basically dodge, dodge, dodge. Now you're free from damage from all traps, well, from the floor traps I mean, when standing in the middle or between the spike traps on the ground, but that doesn't free you from all the enemies spawning, the elites, and of course the blue bubbles that are shooting at you. So yeah, Helheim can be quite a challenge when doing this kind of survival challenge. On two of the maps, Jotunheim and Svartalfheim, there are two challenges or objectives that are very unique to them. It's basically a dodge challenge, you could call it. But what you do is you activate the circle. Sorry, I should also say that one of them is called Wind Crystals on Jotunheim and Defiled Monument on Svartalfheim. And what you do is you activate the circle, and the objective is to dodge the incoming things that are coming from outside of the small circle. Stepping out of the circle is not a good idea, because that will deactivate the challenge or objective and you will have to start over. Now the objective is to just dodge the things and make it so that the things flying towards you actually collides with a thing in the middle. Now running around of course helps. This is the best thing you can do, because the things that are spawning, either barrels or wind spirits or whatever they are, they basically spawn around you. They don't spawn on the other side of the objective thing that you need to destroy. They only spawn on your side. It can be tricky, and if you get hit you will take damage. So taking damage from too many of those and you will die. So yeah, take that into account. One objective completely unique to Svartalfheim is crushing engines. In this one you need to direct the purple type of mace hammer thingy to destroy the purple crystal chamber thingies, basically. Now what I do recommend is that when you activate this objective called crushing engines, you activate the circle at the outer edge of the circle towards one of the chambers, the crystal chambers, and do it on one of the chambers that is opposite side of one of the other, and then you move to the middle one, and then you move to the last third one. Now this objective will differ a little bit on how many engines you need to destroy depending on difficulty and what kind of difficulty you choose for the objective, but it doesn't change how many crystal chambers you need to destroy. Don't move too early and don't move outside of the circle, because that will either make it so that you get hit, you miss the objective, or you deactivate the objective and you have to start over. Let's talk more about Helheim, because Helheim differs a little bit from the other maps, mostly in the way that it's a pretty linear experience from the other maps. All other maps are open and you have all the objectives on one map. In Helheim though, you move through floors. And on the first floor it's pretty simple. It's very small, but it's very simple. On the next floor after that, it's a straight line. You need to open gates, and this one will differ a little bit depending on your difficulty, I believe. I believe it takes a little bit longer on higher difficulties. I could be wrong about that, but yeah. There's definitely more enemies on higher difficulties. Ooh, believe me. And it does get harder because of how much enemies you need to get through, and they get so tanky when you go up in difficulty. And the room after that is basically just a square, which is where you have the most, I guess, unique interactions with when it comes to objectives. After that you get into a cross kind of map, and this one always have the same objective, kill the kings. And this one will differ depending on the difficulty, because you will get a different amount of thrones to interact with. The map after that will be the mirror puzzle or the boss room, depending on difficulty. On normal, you'll get the boss. On hard or insane, you'll get the mirror puzzle. After that, you get the gauntlet if you're playing on insane, or the boss room if you're playing on hard. And after gauntlet, you get the boss on insane difficulty. So yeah, Helheim differs quite a bit. And that is all the objectives I have for you. And now, this is quite a list of objectives, and if they even put out some more maps, I guess I'll have to add those too in a future video, but they will be their own separate video. But for now, with all of these maps, well, all I can say is good luck and have fun with them, because I'm totally having fun with them. Now, I will say that the objectives can be a bit repetitive when playing the same map over and over, if you're grinding for like currency, gold, for skill points and such, but it's still fun. I can't wait to see if they will actually add more to this. I've been Sweepin'92, have a great life, and I hope to see you in future videos. What are your thoughts on Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hell? Put it down in the comments. Bye bye.